Man, today on the podcast, man, we got very, very special guests. We got a couple who has their own podcast. The podcast is called Sparks with the Stones, man, and they just do a lot of dope stuff. Musically inclined, musically talented couple at that. I don't know why they don't have a YouTube channel at this point, but hey, maybe they do. I don't know. But either way, I'm talking about our people, Corban and Maisha Stone. What's good, y'all?
What's up?
How are you guys?
Honored to be joining y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah, Corban, Maisha, definitely happy to have y'all on our podcast. And for those who don't know, we're going to go ahead and shout out their podcast right up front. It's called Sparks with the Stones. And they have a great speaking voice. That's what I noticed. The first thing I noticed. Like, yeah, they sound so, they kind of, they make you want to take a nap when you're listening to them, you know. But a lot of wisdom on there, though. A lot of wisdom.
Whole lot of wisdom, man. I got a counselor, and like my counselor like has this tendency to play like this Zen music whenever we're in session and stuff like that. Yeah. Not gonna lie, some of y'all background music very, very similar.
Yeah. It's kind of smooth, bro.
Super smooth. But man,
and I also want to
go ahead.
I also want to shout out this other podcast that I've been listening to since we talking about podcasts. It's called Catching Up with Michelle Williams. Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child.
Okay, yeah. I was like,
yeah. She's got this mental health podcast, man. I'm talking about. She's hitting on some good notes. You know, shout out to her. I wanted to shout her podcast out as well. I know you listening, Michelle. Shout you out.
Yeah, definitely listening.
Beyonce
Michelle
too.
Williams. Michelle Williams. Shout out to Michelle Obama, who's also listening right now. All the Michelles who are listening, man. Hey,
you gotta claim it.
Yeah, we appreciate all y'all. Hey, real quick, man, tell us a little bit about Sparks with the Stones. Like, why did y'all start that? Like, what season were y'all in? When y'all started that? Like, what kind of led to that?
Yeah, I'll let you answer that one.
Well, I feel like she does a better job of telling our tag, so I'll let you tell our tag, Sparks with the Stones.
Okay, so we have a podcast, Sparks with the Stones, and it's basically about marriage conflict and our walks with Christ.
Yeah.
It's a spin off of our last name.
Right.
And so we wanted to do something that was short and simple and concise.
Give them the spark notes.
Yes, little spark notes, so that they can just thrive, not only in marriage, but dating, relationship, life, conflicts with friendships, things like that. And just be able to have Christ along with that and be able to give input and impart and speak truth into our listeners' lives. So that's kind of why we started it and what the premise of it is.
Well, so I feel like it started it more. So so we had a podcast out beforehand, and that kind of like. It crashed and burned, and so just like realizing that we wanted to be like hot, like Michael Todd called it hot, which is
honest, open, and transparent.
And just with our listeners, but not only just like our listeners, but more so just like for us, and let that be like us.
Kind of like an Ebenezer Stone. We can go back and look at it and listen and be like, dang, Lord, you brought us from there.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good.
It was an audio journal that we could write and be very transparent. Just instead of writing it down, it'd just be talking things out.
For sure.
So
and both of you are under 30, right?
I'll be 30 in May.
All right, so you're under there. Barely.
Yeah.
Right.
Barely.
Yeah.
How long y'all been married?
We've been married for 3 years. It'll be 4 in August.
Yep.
Which is crazy. Time is fun.
Yeah. Dang.
Yep. This has been a great institute, and I'm not talking about the mental institute.
But, good. You know what's cool about like. You know what I'm saying? Like, a couple doing a podcast to me, like, it's cool because, like, say you have kids in the future or something like that, or say, like, just something happens and like, y'all, like, stop doing it. Like, people still get, like, this fresh audio version of, like, this season of life that you were in and stuff like that. Like, that's super cool. Specifically, like, if you have kids, it's almost like an audio journal to your kids in some capacity. That would be cool as well.
Yeah.
So cool. So y'all did that. Y'all started doing that. Roughly about every episode is like roughly around 30 minutes?
We try.
Yeah.
If it is over, we try to split it.
Yeah. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Anything too long, it's like.
Hey, we be trying too, but
we try.
Sometimes it get good. It just get good.
Yeah,
you just gotta keep going.
Yes, yeah. So y'all been married for 3 years. Did y'all meet at KA, Kids Across America?
We did.
Yeah.
We met at KA. So his sister was the women's director. Her name was Danielle Stone. So I knew her.
Danielle Stone's your sister?
Yes.
Hey.
Wow.
Okay.
So
shout out KA.
yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, his sister, we were really good friends, and I always knew she had a little brother. So I was like, okay, little Corban. Little Corban.
Little Coco.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been hanging out. Yeah.
Okay.
And talk to me about your perspective, because she had a brother who was at camp. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, man, I knew Mark was just a really cool dude who was just I super respected him. His character is just always so high, and when I started to catch feelings for his sister, man, I'm nervous. You know, palms are sweaty after I just eat small spaghetti. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So anyway, like approaching him to ask him, it's always, you got to talk to Big Brother, right? You got to talk to Big Brother to let him know. Same thing. She did the same thing too with Danielle.
I was like, she gonna kill me. She don't play that. Not with her brother. She don't play that.
So that was just a cool aspect that we already knew each other's family members, and it felt like family, which it still feels like family because they are family.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into a couple of the questions. We want to get a little bit of wisdom from y'all, as a couple doing a podcast. Let's just start off on social media, right? So on social media, you'll see a lot of posts giving perspectives on relationships that seem to pit men and women against each other. Like you might see a post that women are posting that says, "Hey, if a man isn't paying all the bills, then you losing." Or whatever, or a man might post something that says like, if your wife isn't making your plate first, the kids' plate second, then she disrespecting you, and then all of a sudden, these things kind of get into your soul, into your heart, and you start getting kind of maybe mixed up a little bit by what you see on social media. So my first question is, do you think that what we see on social media has a negative impact on relationships because of all of the idealistic views? Because, some of them are going to hit home. You know what I mean? Some of them are going to hit. It's going to be like, man, that's right. I should be demanding more, So how do you think social media impacts relationships?
Man, that's a great question. Can I start? Is that okay?
Yeah, for sure.
So I would definitely say this is a great question to ask us because we are very unconventional when it comes to as far as just that's the type of relationship y'all have. So when I say that, for example, right now I'm the breadwinner in a relationship. And when we moved to Georgia, we just moved from Georgia.
Yep.
We moved here because of me and the job that I had. And he was willing to hey, if that's your dream, if that's what you want to do, I'm behind you 110%.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It's just really cool. I think all that to say, when it comes to social media, I think the biggest thing that, especially as a believer, you have to come to the table is man and woman was meant to complement one another. And I think a lot of times we kind of lose that perspective when we look on social media and be like, oh, well, if you're not doing this, if you're not doing that, it's going to be different for every relationship, of course. But God created man and woman to complement one another. And to be able to, when I'm weak, he's strong. And when I'm strong, he's weak. That's just how we've been able to navigate through our marriage and make sure pride doesn't step in because it's very easy, I think, in a lot of situations to do that. So I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to social media is when you take a look at all the things that people are saying and doing, just getting back to the root of why God created man and woman and making sure that is your foundation from the start.
Yeah. And it makes me think about too, everybody's a theologian, right? Everybody has their worldview that they're creating in that sense. And so social media is, if we're not careful, that's where we can get our source, our truth, our identity,
doctrine,
our expectations, what's expected of me.
Right. And when you bring that into you bring that baggage, that expectation into relationships, and before you know it, you have unmet expectations of just like, yo, I thought this is how it was supposed to be like. And then when this person doesn't fulfill that expectation, then you get mad, upset, all those things that you bring those baggage with. And so that's why I'm just like, man, no, get off of social media and let your source be the Bible.
Yes.
And if it's 300 comments, don't read all 300 of them because
right.
you're gonna get
you
mixed up.
Time. There's so much stuff you could be doing. You could read your Bible.
They're down there arguing. They're going back and forth.
Yes.
Men versus women. It's crazy.
And I think ultimately, I think that man versus women it comes from the curse from Genesis chapter 3. The woman desires after man. So I think that's just the side of the effect of the curse, that it's always warring against each other.
Yeah, and before I say this, let me say this. I'm not talking about nobody. So don't text me. Please don't text me. But with that being said, I think on social media, it's especially amongst couples, it's a new wave to almost attempt to be an influencer couple type thing, to where you frequently posting and stuff like that. And I think it's great to share your marriage. I really do. I think it's great to share your marriage. If you choose to share your single relationship, which just means that you're not married. If you choose to share that in a lot of ways, then that's cool too. But I think that sometimes you can get caught into performative acts if you're not careful. And I think that that's what I kind of see sometimes. I'm like, bro, I know what's going on right now. I'm friends with your people, maybe we should refrain from social media and like you said, just try to go back to the main source, which is the Bible. So yeah, you've been married for 3 years. So from the outside looking in, how do y'all see dating culture right now? What do you think has been the changes from when and obviously y'all situation is completely different. Anybody who has not worked at Kids Across America or any kind of sports camp or anything like that, it's completely different. I'm pretty sure, I don't know about y'all's time, but when I was at Kids Across America, we had this rule called 1 shot, 1 kill. Which basically meant that if you're a male, you can pursue one person. If she says no, then you can't pursue anybody else at camp. So choose wisely. So y'all situation was completely different in a lot of ways. But despite that, what do you think the differences are between 5 years ago to now? As far as dating and the pursuit of dating and social and all the apps and all that stuff, what do y'all see from the outside looking in?
Oh man, that's a good question. So I feel just from my perspective, I feel there's two extremes. There's this extreme where it's just okay, I really like this person. Let's get married. Let's just hop right into it. Or there's this other extreme where it's just nah, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna date around. I'm not about that life. I'm not trying to be locked up. I'm not trying to commit. Right. What is that? I feel there's, from my perspective, I feel there's these two extremes that people fit on. And I feel in a lot of ways, both of them lead to emotional baggage, not only emotional baggage, but all the other things that the Lord, I think, is trying to keep us from when we are trying to be in a dating relationship. And so I think that's just what I see now is just wow, people are really out there, either putting themselves out there intentionally or unintentionally, not really knowing what they're getting into, not being okay with just being friends first. And all the things that can lead to. And so I think that's just what I've seen, in the past, just from the world's perspective, they don't really, I guess, count the cost when it comes to relationships.
Right.
Right. Because I think that is a lot. The Bible says that we should guard our heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life. I don't think a lot of people are doing a good job of that. And I think that's not just now, but 5 years ago, people were doing that too. But I think just the guarding your heart piece is not there intentionally by people. Yeah,
for sure. And I think it gets swept away because majority of relationships are based upon feelings, and kind of just like touchy, hands on, and one of our
boot up.
Yeah, right. Right.
Mm-hmm. Ring by spring, all the things that they say.
But I feel like we were ring by spring. So like, I mean, I remember approaching her, Maisha. Like, I was like, "Yo, like, I think this was like the first week we like first started talking, and I was like, "Yo, I think you're pretty, and I want to pursue you for marriage."
Those were like his words.
And so
like,
from there, like from like the next day, she sat down and like grilled me. But like my philosophy was like, hey, like there's no point in sharing my feelings if like I have no intentions, and so not saying that like you have to get married, you know, after sharing your intentions, but I was surprised that she wasn't like scared and ran away from me at that moment. But ultimately, like we knew what we were doing before the relationship even started. Like, hey, this is where we're going. This is the direction we want to go, and that our relationship won't be necessarily like based upon like feelings or like touchy. That hey, let's make out, or we had boundaries that set up. Like, you know, like the only thing I could do was hold her hand, but I wasn't pursuing her body. I was pursuing her. You know, I wanted to get to know her.
Right.
And I think that like in our society that we live in now is more so, especially with like technology. And the things that you can do with technology, with like sexting and
apps, the dating apps.
Yeah, all that is like it's kind of like that fast forward. Like, hey, let's just get to the more emotional side, or let's just get to the more physical side of the relationship instead of getting to know the person.
Yeah. That's real. And I was listening to one of your episodes earlier today about spending time with Christ, and I think this one came out in 2020, and you guys were talking about the fact that I guess it was because of the pandemic or what, but y'all were both really busy, and neither one of you were really spending time with the Lord like that. And Maisha said Corban was about to slit my throat. I was like, okay, got real. But you know, when I heard that story y'all told, it reminded me of the story of Martha and Mary and Martha. You know, like how Mary was spending time with Jesus, and Martha was up busy doing other things, right?
Cleaning up chores.
She was doing chores, cleaning up, trying to take care of life, you know. And here goes Mary. She looks at Mary. She's already frustrated. She's overwhelmed, and she sees Mary sitting there listening to Jesus. So she confronts. You know, she's like, why aren't you helping me? You're sitting there listening to Jesus. And Jesus rebukes Martha, you know, and says, you know, Martha, you know, you're worried about many things, but only one thing is needful, you know, and Mary has chosen what's needful, which is me, Jesus. So do you think, I wanted to ask y'all about that, like, for you to speak into that, like, how important is it in relationships for each partner to like spend that time with Jesus in a real way before trying to like mesh together without doing so?
Yeah, it's critical.
Yeah,
like I tell you, there's something about this relationship. I tell people this all the time before they like start dating, married. Like after Christ, like who you marry is like the second most important decision that you'll ever make in your life.
right.
Because like literally, that's the person that you're spending time with. This is the person that actually has the license to speak truth and life into you. That you know they see all of your flaws. And I think it's so important, like, that when you are, like, in a relationship, that you put Christ first. Because when we put Christ first in our marriage, it draws us closer together. And it makes us one. Like, when we are actually following and spending intentional time in the Word. Like, I don't want to downplay, like, if you do couple studies, that's great. But, like, so there's something about that intentional time spending in the presence of God individually, so that you can draw closer and y'all can be on the same page and speak the same language. And, you know, because sometimes we are on the same page, but sometimes I'm over here trying to do my thing and he's trying to do his. And we really have to come back to the root of just like, okay, God, obviously he's not understanding where I'm coming from. So like, I need to go to you first so you can deal with him so we can come back and we can be on the same page and speak the same language. And not try to fight the war on my own, because sometimes I can do that. So and let pride get the best of me. So I think it's just so critical, like, to make sure that you are not using, because a lot of times I feel like a lot of people just, oh, well, my husband, like, he's a pastor, and so he's just washing me with the water of the word. Like, yes, that is his job. He should be doing that, but like, you have a responsibility to. As a believer, you should be feeding yourself and making sure that you are, spending time with God and making that a priority as well.
Right. So, I mean, because ultimately, like, that is like marriage enrichment, is when we are spending time with Christ and we are like, reading in his word and like having accountability with other believers and stuff like that. Like, you're enriching your marriage and making your marriage better. And when you aren't pursuing after God, then you're not pursuing your spouse well.
Wow, that's true.
And so it's like, you know, like, then you're not really supporting your spouse as best as you can. I mean, because ultimately people can have good marriages without God. Like, absolutely, we see it all the time. But to live to a standard where Christ has called us as believers who love Jesus and who are married, right? It's going to take the Holy Spirit to like really take you over that hump that's in the road. So
otherwise, I feel like you're doing it in your own strength.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because the enemy, he's not shooting at no dead ducks. He's shooting at the ducks that's alive and flying. You know what I'm saying? If it's dead, why shoot it?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
For sure,
bro.
Believers trying
why
to.
Why are you talking about ducks, man?
Okay, all right.
Of all animals, a duck.
It's that video game. That old video
duck
game.
hunt. Yeah. Think about duck hunt, right? You know what I'm saying? If you got a duck flying in the air, that's alive. It's alive in Christ. You know what I'm saying? It's a believer. But if you got a dead duck laying on the ground, why am I gonna shoot it? It's no threat to me. So that's what I meant, Darius. It's a spiritual analogy, Darius. Okay.
Hey, my fault. I take it back. And I think for me, and Ryan, you were actually here that day. Ryan and I were part of this Bible study where we were studying Revelation, and we were doing like a prayer request one day. And man, I just started like confessing some things like in my marriage. I was like, hey man, like, this not going well this week. This not going well this week. This not going well this week. And then like maybe 2 or 3 other people kind of shared like some of the same things. And the guy who led the Bible study, the first thing he asked us is like, how's your time with God been? And it was like instantly, like once that happened, like things were better. Like small example, I'm convinced that my wife hates tops. Like she just does not like tops because she doesn't put tops back on things. So I'm like, okay, so she hates tops. And it's like something small like that. Like if you get caught in the wrong day or in the wrong mood where you're not like being influenced by a spirit, that will set you off. But if you choose to, if you know what I'm saying, choose to. Hey, Joy, I love you, by the way. I love you, by the way. So, but the toothpaste top, we got to do something. We got to do something about that. We got to do something about that.
Toothpaste top.
Yeah, but like with that though, for real, it's like, man, like if I'm not being led by the Spirit, and I'm not being led by the fruit of the Spirit, one of those things, which is gentleness and patience and kindness, then like, you know what I'm saying, like it's not gonna work. It's just not gonna work. So I feel what y'all saying.
And Corban, you made a very great analogy on one of your podcasts where you talked about 50 first dates.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man, that was good. Basically, Corban, you can explain it, but he kind of parallels spending time with God to 50 first dates. You want to break that down?
Yeah, so Drew Barrymore, I believe that's her last name.
Yeah.
She has short-term memory loss, and so basically, Adam Sandler character has to like continue to pursue after her day after day, and so finally they get married, and then they move to Alaska, and basically, you know, she has to watch the movie that tells her of what happened, and so she is every day she's being regenerated back to the same spot that she was every day. And every day she has to watch that movie. And so that's the same thing for believers, is that, man, like we get reset, you know, respawn back to our old sinful nature. And it is by reading of the Word of God, spending time with God, worshiping God, that kind of tells us of like, man, this is who we are. This is where we have came from. and this is now our life moving forward. So, man, that I feel like that was kind of like I was watching a movie with Maisha because she loves that movie, and like I feel like the Lord hit me with that, and I was like, oh. Yeah, that's me. Like, that's me.
Yeah, and then you said if she doesn't watch the movie every day, she's gonna wake up and go crazy. She's not gonna know who she is.
Yeah,
she's gonna be confused about what to do and where she is and where to go. Yeah. You know, so that was a really good analogy. That was potent. Yeah.
That's definitely the whole spirit, man.
Yeah.
Man, so tell me this. Y'all been doing the podcast for 2 years, roughly 2 years now, right? So, or 3 years, 2020, 2021, now 2022. So,
yeah, probably 2.5.
3 years. Yeah, we'll say 2.5. I'm just trying to hype them folks
up.
Yeah. Excuse me. But like, what is y'all's hope for single couples who listen to y'all podcast as a married couple?
That is good. So we did a podcast. I can't remember the title of it.
Maximize your singleness.
Maximizing your singleness. Yeah.
Yes, we did a podcast called Maximizing Your Singleness. And I think the biggest thing that I would just tell my single people, like, marriage is not the end game.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Marriage is great. Don't get me wrong. I love being married. My husband's great. But, like, that's not the end goal. If the Lord has called you to singleness, run in your lane. Yeah. Because if you run out of your lane, you get disqualified. So, like, let's just be honest. If the Lord's called you to be single, like, use the time. If he calls you to be married in the future, whatever, like, use that time to, like, be intentional with the Lord. And if you want to get married in the future, like, make sure that you're being the spouse that you want.
Yeah.
Before you try to even just make the checklist. So that's the biggest thing that I would just tell my single listeners that I just really want to get across. Like, we get to a marriage and it's just like, oh, I've arrived.
Right.
I'm cute. Right. I'm married and it's great. Like, but that's not the end game. Like, you know, our end game is to like glorify God in everything that we do. So if that means I'm single, I want to glorify God in my singleness. That means I'm married, I want to glorify Him in my marriage. Like, so I feel like that's the biggest thing. Like, if I could tell anybody like that's single, like, you're not going to arrive just because you get married. Like, it's not the answer to all things. But I don't know. That's the biggest thing I would say.
Yeah. Well, I know some people have like said, "Man, I don't listen to your podcast because you know it's like for marriage." And I was like, "No, man. Like, it's not for marriage. Like, ultimately, it's one to be open, transparent, and honest about where we are in life. Because to be honest, life can't be broken down to like, hey, just follow these 3 simple points and you'll make it. Like, it's not ultimately that, but it's just hearing someone else's story, hearing somebody else's struggle, and how God can work through like the mundane things of life through another person, through a friend, and walking away encouraged, by that to live a life that glorifies God even through the mundane life, because many of us want our lives to look like Exodus, like the 10 plagues and all of that, but really our life is like the book of Ruth. And so just I feel like our lives is like the book of Ruth, and we're walking our listeners through spark notes of our lives and what tripped us up, and man, we could have did a better job here in our life. So
yeah, and I know that you guys just moved to Georgia not too long ago. By the way, I'm from Georgia.
Yay!
But I've been in Memphis for about 10 years now, so I'm kind of like a born again Memphian. But I know you guys are probably having to rebuild relationships. How's that been going as far as like male relationships for you, Corban, female relationships for you, Maisha? Have y'all been having success in that area, or is it still kind of a struggle?
Oh my goodness, community has been, for me personally, it's been a struggle. Like, and I think that has just a lot to do with like being like not trusting of just like people in general. So the Lord is working on me. I have not arrived. Hear me say that. So I think for me, it's learning to pursue relationships and be intentional about pursuing community, especially now that he has a new job and he serves and works in a church. So like, hey, let's go out to lunch. Like, let's do something together. So that's me stepping out of my comfort zone and being intentional about, okay, I cannot do this on my own. So I need some godly women. So I have about 2 women that I do like have fellowship and friendship with and community with, but there's always room for like improvement in that area, especially for me, I would say. So it's still a struggle. I'll be honest to say that it's not as I had a really good like solid community when I was in Branton. So me learning how to be like, okay, this is a transition. So I need to make sure that I'm not just like content with like, oh, okay, it's just me and my husband's cool. We're great. So I have to be more intentional and consistent about pursuing community, because sometimes it's easy to be complacent and say, hey, you know, I'm fine. Like, I'll get through this. It'll be okay. But like, if I want to grow and be intentional about my growth, I have to pursue others around me. Like, it has to be a top priority. Yeah. Otherwise, it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we definitely grow in groups. You know, life transformation happens in groups.
Yeah.
So for me, man, I feel like it was quite opposite for me. Like in Branson, I didn't have that much like guy on guy fellowship, you know. I did, but it wasn't like as meaningful as I would like it to be. And so when I moved here, man, I feel like I've had some guys move down here with us. Which is Reginald Brown and Karan Boston. Have been some amazing guys, and both of them worked at camp, and so to have them here in the same city has been awesome, and as well as like, I don't know, like it feels great, the community here that we're living in here, that, you know, our neighbors,
oh my goodness,
they know our names, and we could go around town and like know people, so that's been pretty fun. So yeah, community's been pretty good.
Yeah, and I'm learning to like you really do like make your own like community. If you want community, like pursue it. Like, that's the biggest thing I've learned being here. It's like, the people that, you know, we live next to and close to in proximity with, like, I pursue it, and like if I really want it, like, I pursue it and I continue to pursue it, even if they say, no, not this week. Like, okay, well, let me get you on my schedule, like, next week when you free. Like, and don't get discouraged in that. Like, because sometimes it's easy to be like, oh, well, they don't want to hang out with me. And you can get in a pity party. So just being intentional.
You don't want Corban to get a bunch of guy friends to go to the Falcons game, and then you be at the house by yourself watching 51st Dates.
What's the heart? Right.
Corban said he don't like sports though. You're not really into sports like that.
Oh, you like sports?
No, I'm not into sports.
Oh no!
I know.
Yeah,
I know, man.
I need to be your friend. You need to let me be your friend. I'll put you on.
so you can get the tickets.
Right. He can get the tickets, and then he can sit beside me and then translate everything that's happening.
This is what's happening,
Right. Exactly. Dude, I have married into the wrong family.
Yeah.
Maisha's dad is like huge, sports heavy.
Kansas City Chiefs, Kansas City Royals. He's like
he watches like the games on 3 different screens. Like, it's like TV, laptop, phone, all at the same time. And like he meets me, and I'm like, I have no idea I don't know who that guy is. I don't know what that is. Like.
And then your brother was an Olympian, right?
Right. Yeah.
Maurice, yeah.
Plus his heart.
Wow.
It's okay.
So
that's amazing.
So yeah. And Mark, I called him as Sonic the Hedgehog because he little, he just fast.
That's Mark.
Yeah. So yeah. And didn't you run track as well? Am I making it up?
I ran track at ORU. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
married to the wrong family. All of them athletes.
All them athletes, man.
Collegiate athletes.
Yeah, collegiate athletes, for real. But you're not into sports like that, but y'all both are into music. So we do have this segment called What's on Your Playlist, or like, what are you currently listening to? So tell me a few songs y'all listen to, a few albums, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Like, it's no, like, it don't got to be Christian. If it is, that's great. If it's secular, that's cool too. So.
So work with kids, like elementary school kids.
Yeah.
So I'm really teaching them worship. And so there's like 2 songs on my playlist right now. Cry Out by Refresh Worship / Maverick City. And Seek Your Face by Refresh Worship. Those are, I've been having them on replay, and them kids be singing about Jesus, and I'd be like, y'all better sing about Jesus. So those are them 2 songs that I'm just like on repeat. Like for real.
Maverick
like,
City's just taking over for sure.
My goodness.
They're taking over.
Have literally, they've changed.
Yeah.
They literally changed like the whole movement of worship.
So
instead of worship being on stage, like, and us looking at, like, they literally like place worship within the center of it, and then people around them, and so like now people want that feel. So they've definitely
changed.
They're doing big things out there.
Hey, can I say something real quick about Mav City? They're doing the tour this summer, right? And like Kirk Franklin's on a tour, so like when you talk to like millennials and stuff like that, and people like honestly in like predominantly white evangelical culture and whatnot, like they're like, you going to the Mav City concert, and we talk to anybody that's older, they like, Kirk Franklin concert. Is somebody named Maverick City gonna be there? I don't know if it's a horse or what. Like they gonna be up in there, but I get so perplexed. Like the older people genuinely do not know who Maverick City music is, and they're breaking all these records. Like breaking all these records. It's crazy.
Depending on the generation.
Yeah,
right.
But Corban, what you listening to though?
Oh man. Okay, so I'm a score guy. I like to listen to scores from movies. And so I've been trying to get my hands on Moon Knight, which is the Marvel series that just came out. But I can only just find the remix of like, so I'm trying to find I can only find the remix on like Spotify, but I can really find the score on it on YouTube. So that's probably what I'm listening to. And then A Man Without Love. That is probably the jam right now.
Tell me about that. I don't know that.
Who made that?
Help me out.
Who made? Oh man, it's like an old song.
Is it a score as well?
Oh,
no. It's an old song.
Oh, I know what song you're talking about.
It's basically a man who a girl breaks up with him, and he's like, I'm a man without love. Like, every time I see you, I break up. Like, it's that classic.
Every day I break up.
Yeah.
That song.
Like Engelbert Humperdinck?
Yes!
Engelbert Humperdinck? Okay.
That's the one.
That's that joint right there.
Hey, hold on.
We're going to have to listen to it. Okay.
I can remember when we walked together.
I do know that song. Now that you say that, I do know that song.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you play the chorus, it's more well known, you know.
Okay.
He has had that on repeat. Plus,
okay.
Hey, look,
y'all got a record player? That sounds like a record player type song.
Hey, I love it. I don't have no boundaries to music I listen to. Like 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
I swear. Hey, that's what's up. So how can we find y'all on social media? Like if somebody wanted to find Sparks with the Stones on social media, how would they find it?
Yeah, so we are currently on Instagram at Sparks with the Stones, and also TikTok at Sparks with the Stones.
Okay.
Do you have another part?
No, that's all we got. And you can find us on any other podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can find us on that platform.
And y'all on TikTok? Y'all doing some of them dances like that A-Bay dance?
Nah, not yet. I need to practice.
I'm so angry that I can't do that A-Bay dance. Y'all don't understand.
Yeah, this man is obsessed.
With the A-Bay dance.
Yeah, A-Bay dance, man. I can't do it. It's kind of frustrating.
It is nice. I've tried it, but I'm not sure if I'm there for camera level yet.
Nah.
So do it and we'll let you know. Post it, we'll let you know. We got you.
Yeah. Trash or pass.
It's gonna be our next YouTube video. Hey,
Right.
Trash your past. Corban, no. But I heard that it's basically related to like the dance y'all talking about. It's like related to like a track warm up or something like that. So like it should be easier like for track stars to do it. Like, I think it's just like something you gotta like. I think it's a YouTube video that shows like how it's related to track and stuff like that. So once you maybe you can do it and then teach Corban or vice versa. I don't know.
There you go.
Tutorial.
I learned rhythm at camp, so you know I didn't have that much rhythm before camp, but praise God for camp because I was the only black person without rhythm for a long time.
That's funny.
Hey, KA will teach you a lot of things. That's for sure.
Show will.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, but man, Maisha, Corban, man, we appreciate y'all hopping on the pod. We will link your podcast in the description. Y'all check their podcast out.
Absolutely.
And while you're doing that, if you're a new listener, make sure you subscribe to us. It's in this description right now for this episode. So I know y'all don't read descriptions, but hey, you can just go right up in there and click that button, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Instagram handle, Ron.
Yeah, and also, you know, we got a YouTube page, but don't forget we got a podcast page, man. We want to get the views on the podcast page as well. So show love on both platforms if you care. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, you know, unsubscribe. No, just kidding. Just
do not unsubscribe. Do not unsubscribe. But make sure you follow us on Instagram at Unconformed Podcast, man, and leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about this episode, man. We are super gracious and grateful that y'all came on and blessed us with all your knowledge and whatnot.
Appreciate y'all.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, man.
Hey, it's all good. I thought they were gonna say something, but they didn't. It's all good. Hey,
it's a wrap.
Yeah,
Thanks for letting us
peace.
on, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Thank you, though, for sure.
Yeah,
we
for sure.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, for Unconformed Podcast, I am Darius Watkins.
Yep, I'm Ryan Thomas.
Hey, and we out. Oh.